Hello everybody, changing the brake shoes on my wife's Hyundai Santa Fe 2016. Now there's a little bit of wear, but they're still pretty smooth. It probably wouldn't hurt to change them, but they're not really rough. So I'm gonna leave the rotors on. I'm just gonna put new pads on it. And the pads aren't completely gone yet, but they're close. So I thought I'd do a little video. I think they wanted around $200 or so, maybe more than that, to do a brake job on this car, all four wheels. Well, I'm going to show you how long it actually takes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 14 millimeter. There's only 2 bolts on here. I'm going to try to do this with one hand, so forgive me for the camera. I don't have a cameraman, so I'm going to do the best I can. Please give me a follow and subscribe on YouTube if you would, please. It's free and it'd be helping me out. Same name. So there's only 2 bolts in here. One in the bottom, one in the top. I'm also going to show you a little trick on these pads. A lot of people have issues when they're trying to change their own pads. They pull this off caliper, and then they pull all the pads off. Well, this is what I do. No matter whose car it is, I take one pad off. Usually they come right off, but sometimes they stick a little bit, so I always just take a screwdriver and push them out. Take one off. Now you'll notice that this pad is just a pad. There's nothing there to it. There's really not much to it. It is pretty wore though. Then I put this back on. I put the caliper back on. Put the bolts back in it. Like I said, I'm sorry for the camera. I don't have a cameraman. So I'm going to try to show you a little trick here. Put the bolts back in it. I'm sure a lot of you out there already know this little trick, but I learned it the hard way years ago. You don't have to tighten them. You just want to screw them in there, till they're a little bit snug. That way you don't strip them out. Then you just get you a screwdriver, push this back. Because you've got one pad out over here, you've got a gap here now. And I put it between the pad and between the push piston there, or whatever you want to call it, if you want to get technical. Because you got to push this back in, because if you don't, then pads are not going to fit. So then all you got to do is put a little pressure on it. Alright, I got to use 2 hands on this. Hang on a second. And there she goes. Sometimes, depends on which way you're pushing it. Some ways are easier than others. Just so you can get a wedge in there. Let me see if I can see if you can see that or not. No wax. There we go. See, it's all the way in now. So now, take the bolts back out. You know what I mean? You don't have to do it this way. You can buy a tool to do it. But why buy a tool? It only takes a couple minutes. Okay, now you've got plenty of space in there. You take your caliper, set it to the side. Take your other shoe on the inside. Now the shoes on the inside are usually different than the ones on the outside. As you can see, this one's got a little tab on it here. And there's a little cover on it right here. See, they come right off. Yeah, these pads are pretty shot. It also comes with these. It depends on what you get. You don't really need to change these unless they're broken. But it holds the pad in there. I think it's supposed to stop from making noise too. I'm not sure, but I actually paint cars for a living. I'm not really a mechanic, but I learned to do my own work because I don't want to pay somebody some high dollar amount to do something that I can do myself in just a few minutes. Put these new ones back in there. I can get them in there with one hand. There we go. Got that one in. Like I say, I apologize for the camera, but I don't have a tripod to put it on, and I can't really get a good angle, so I'm just doing it. Being my own cameraman, doing the best I can. Try to show you guys how to. You certainly don't want to pay $200 to let somebody do your brakes. I mean, it's ridiculous what they charge to do brake pads, because it literally just takes a few minutes. I think it takes longer to get the wheel off than to actually put the pads on. Alright, now we got that in. So okay, we're going to take our new pads. You see, I'll show you the difference in the new and the old. You see how beat down they are? A little bit thicker there, huh? Good bit. They're pretty wore out. Alright, so this one has a tab on it, so all you have to do is make sure you put it back where you took it off. The tab was on the bottom, on the inside, so that's where we're going to put it. That pad's in. If anybody has any questions out there or needs any help, give me a yell, because I'll be glad to help you any way I can. Not a big deal. This like sucker not going to go in there. Sometimes it's hard to do stuff with one hand. Try getting the get the top up first and maybe the bottom. There we go. Alright, so now the pads are in. Plus the sun's behind me too. I'm trying to do the best I can with this camera thing. Okay, now that since we pushed the piston in, you see the piston's in. So now we don't have to fight with it. You set it right up there, push your little tops in. Because these will actually move where the bolts were. If you can see that or not. See it moving right there. Put that back down on top. Put your 2 bolts in. See, I already got ahead of myself. See, I'm busy trying to do a video, and I forgot to put this little plate on there. So I got to take this one back off for a second. Put the little plate back on, the new one. It's probably for noise or something, who knows. There we go. See, it's easy to lose track of what you're doing, so you just have to pay attention. It's not a big deal though. Wasn't that hard to take back off, now was it? Plus I can show you again on the bolts. Just push it in, line it up. You get all your parts are in there now. Nothing left over. Get your bolts started. Like I said, it's kind of tough with one hand, but I'm gonna see if I can do it. Hold on just a second here. Let me see if I can get this bolts. There we go. We got that in. What you gotta do is tighten them up now. Ratchet wrenches, I love them, man. Now, when I took these things off, wow, you would have been surprised to see how loose these bolts were. They were hard. It took hardly any effort at all to take them off, so they weren't very tight. You don't want to over tighten them because then you'll break them. So what I do is I get them snug and I try to turn them about maybe 3/8 of a turn, quarter of a turn, a little over a quarter of a turn. Usually will do it. It's not going to come out. 1/8 of a turn probably do it after you get it snugged up and it's tight. You know, just go a little past tight, maybe about a 1/8 of a turn or something. Then you just turn your wheel right back around. On most cars, now all I gotta do is throw the wheel on it, and we're done. I'll go ahead and do that for you. Hold tight.